of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, the most beneficent. And all praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this amazing opportunity. And we are absolutely delighted to have somebody from the Dementia Society, who is going to be talking to us. I'll give you the formal introduction in a couple of minutes. But first and foremost, I wish to put on record our thanks to one of our members. You all know her, Ruby Baikaki, who runs the Dementia Cafe every Saturday, once a month. And I'll just quickly go through, sorry about this. Technology, I forgot my laptop at home, typical story. Okay, so there we go. So Ruby Kaki is a trained dementia ambassador and a volunteer with the Alzheimer's Society. Dementia touches her many lives throughout the country and all over the world, actually. And she joined this with deep desire to break the silence and the stigma around surrounding dementia, etc. And and I requested her to request Sam to come over and talk to us. And just to introduce you, Sam, I've definitely got it here. Sorry about this. Can I have a loud salawat, please? Okay, so Sam, his name is Sam Pollard, who has been with the Alzheimer's Society for almost 2 years and has worked with the people with dementia for more than 4 years in total. He supports people with dementia and the carers in the borough of Hillingdon, but also does a lot of outreach and events across London. He'll be running a Dementia Friends session with us to help to understand what the disease is. Now, dementia, if you remember, a few months ago I spoke about dementia at great length here, and there was a lot of interest that was created amongst us. And so please, there is no issues, there's no pointing, there's nothing like upsetting anybody. If anybody knows that you have got an issue with remembering things, etc., you don't necessarily have dementia. But having said that, okay, I'm sure Sam will highlight even more what dementia really stands for. And we should try to help, because once you help people and listen to them, half of the time they are much better off, And I think, I don't want to steal all the thunder away from Sam, but, for example, I'll give you a soft saying. There was this lady, this gentleman, I met him, and he kept on saying, "Oh, my dear," all the time. He was married for almost 50 years and kept on calling his wife, "Hello, dearest," "Hi, darling," "Hi, honey," etc. So the other guy asked him, "Why don't you call her by her name, because, you keep on saying that you've been married for 50 years. So he took him to the side. Now, this is the cruel bit, yeah? And he said, "To be very frank with you, I don't remember her name." And that is quite a serious, how shall we put it, admission. But it is there, it exists. And we have got to recognize that this is in our society. So without a further ado, I want to welcome Sam with a loud Nare Salwar, please, Sam. Come through. That is your spot there. Do you want to sit down or do you want to hold on to this?
I'll stand up for now.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Salam. Thank you so much again for inviting me in. It's a pleasure to talk to you all. And again, thank you again. I know she's not here, but to Ruby,
yes,
for all of her help. She helps us a lot in Hillingdon, and I'm sure she does a lot here as well. So the session I want to go through today is called Dementia Friends. and it is just an explanation of what dementia is, how we can all understand dementia better in our daily lives, and how to support people we think may have an issue with their memory or do have a diagnosis of dementia. What I'm also going to do is, after we go through this presentation, I would like to do a question and answer at the end, just so if you have any questions about dementia or memory loss or anything, I can answer them here. And I'll also probably stay around for 10-15 minutes afterwards if you don't want to share a question in front of everyone, but I'll wait somewhere. You'll see me.
At least full hour minimum.
Yeah, of course. So, dementia friends, if we go to the next slide, if possible. Next slide, please. That's okay. So today we'll probably skip the icebreaker because you all know each other. But we have 5 key messages that we would like everybody to know about dementia. I'm going to go through the bookcase analogy, which explains why people may lose their memory in a certain way through dementia. And the local offer is present in Hillingdon, not so much here, but if you wouldn't mind maybe at the end speaking about what Ruby does here once a month. All right, if we go to the next slide. So please shout out. What are the first words you think of when you think of dementia? Forgetfulness, loss of memory, yes. Anything else? Yeah, memory loss? Mental disease, yeah. Loss of confidence. There's no wrong answers here. These are all good. Any more? No? If we go to the next slide. So often when we hear the word dementia, especially in the news or when we're talking to people, we hear a lot of words like loss, helplessness, hopelessness, loss of confidence, which we heard earlier. These are all realities of the condition. They can all leave us feeling very hopeless, helpless, because it is a disease. It is a very difficult condition to live with. But at Alzheimer's Society, what we try to do is make sure we understand that there is a way to live well with dementia. It doesn't have to leave us feeling all of these ways. We can support people who have it, or if you have it yourself, you can find ways to live life to the fullest and close to the way you used to live it. If we go to the next slide. So, Dementia Friends is an initiative by Alzheimer's Society. We're a social action movement to increase understanding of dementia and understand the 5 key messages, of course. Next slide, please. So, if you have a look at these 5 key messages, there's a blank space in each of them, and one of these words or phrases up here fits into each of these sentences. If I give you just a couple of seconds more to see what you think. So the first one is dementia is not a natural part of. Again, please shout out. Which one of these words do you think goes in there? Aging. Dementia is not a natural part of aging. Does anybody want to guess what we mean by that? Dementia is essentially, when we say it's not a natural part of aging, it means that when you get older, you cannot expect to get dementia. Most people don't get dementia. And sometimes when we talk about getting older and forgetting, we say, oh, that's just auntie getting older, it's just forgetting now, that's what happens. And some forgetfulness is normal, but a lot of forgetfulness that is associated with dementia isn't normal, it's not natural. Dementia is caused by what in the brain? Diseases. So we'll come on to this a bit later, but you may have heard of Alzheimer's disease. You might have heard of vascular dementia. Then there are some rarer ones that I'll touch on a little later as well. Dementia is not just about... Yes. So losing your memory is often the first symptom of dementia that is seen. But dementia is much, much more than just losing your memory. And again, we'll go on a little bit later about what else, what other symptoms of dementia there are. It is possible to, what? I already kind of spoiled that one earlier, unfortunately. But yes, it is possible to live well with dementia. So even if you're forgetful, even if you have some of these other symptoms of dementia, it is possible to live well. And there is more to the person than the dementia. And again, I'll come on a little bit later to what exactly we mean by that. Can we go to the next slide, please? There we go. And the next one. So, dementia is not a natural part of aging. This means that, as I said earlier, when you get older, you cannot expect to get dementia. It is not normal, and it is caused by, like the second message says, diseases. So just like other diseases like cancer or heart disease, your likelihood of getting it can increase as you get older, but it is not normal. It's still a disease, and so you still have to treat it like one, something that you can treat sometimes. You can't cure dementia, but sometimes there are medications you can take. You should go to a doctor if you think you have dementia or you're experiencing some of the symptoms. If we go to the next slide, please. Dementia is caused by diseases of the brain. Kind of covered that one. Next one, please. Yes. So the lights here, you can see. If you think of every memory or every function of the brain as a light, when dementia affects the brain, some of those lights start to flicker. Some of those lights don't stay on as well as they could. Sometimes, if you think of fairy lights, like those big chains of lights, often you'll find that one or two aren't working quite as they should. That's what dementia's like, essentially. Can anybody list any other functions of the brain? What else does the brain do besides store your memory? It controls your body. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Speech. Speech is a very important one. Senses. So all of your 5 senses, your speech, your body, basically your brain controls everything. So when you have a disease in your brain that stops it functioning, that interrupts some of those functions, really anything can be affected. Normally, the most common type of dementia, called Alzheimer's disease, it starts in the place of your brain where your memory is stored. So that's why memory is affected first. But you often find that people with dementia will develop problems with their speech, like you said earlier, problems with their senses. They might not be able to hear so well or see so well, or often you'll find that people with dementia their taste will be affected. Maybe they won't like the food they're used to. Maybe you often find that people with dementia like sweet food a lot, because the most powerful sense that the most powerful taste that your tongue can pick up is sweetness. So often, people with dementia, when they're eating, will only be able to taste if it's sweet. So they won't like, they won't be eating vegetables, I'll put it that way, which can lead to problems when you're trying to look after your overall health. If we go to the next slide, please. And another one. There we go. So dementia is an umbrella term. So there are lots of different kinds of dementia. Alzheimer's disease is the one you're probably all familiar with, or most of you, and that's mostly to do with losing your memory, but it can progress to mean other things as well. Vascular dementia. Has anybody heard of vascular dementia? Have you heard of vascular disease? So that's like heart disease. Basically, vascular disease, as I'm sure you know, is when the blood vessels around your body, specifically around your heart, they get blocked. The blood vessels narrow. You might have high cholesterol that affects your heart health. Vascular dementia is when the blood vessels in your brain get blocked in the same way. So just like you might have a heart attack if the blood vessels in your heart are blocked, you might have a stroke if the blood vessels in your brain are blocked. And when you have a stroke, some brain cells can die, and that can cause vascular dementia. And then these two here, dementia with Lewy bodies and frontotemporal dementia, they're a bit rarer. But they can be especially difficult to deal with because you probably won't have a loss of memory. With frontotemporal dementia, you'll often see someone's behavior change. You may have noticed at some point maybe an older relative or an older friend has begun to act in inappropriate ways, maybe forget social rules, forget to be polite or greet you in a polite way. That could be a sign of frontotemporal dementia. And with that, you often see personality changes. Maybe someone their whole life has been very kind, very affectionate, very polite, but now they're rude. Well, or aggressive. Absolutely, absolutely. That is a big sign of dementia. If someone is very aggressive and it's not part of their personality normally, that can be a sign of dementia. And dementia with Lewy bodies, you often people may often hallucinate. And these hallucinations are slightly different from the type you'd get if you had a mental illness like schizophrenia, but it can happen in people with dementia as well. All right, the next slide, please. So dementia is not just about losing your memory. I've gone over some of the other symptoms of dementia a minute ago, but yes, personality changes, and any change in someone that is unusual, that involves their brain, may have something to do with dementia. It doesn't always, but it may do. The next slide. So these are some things that you often don't consider symptoms of dementia, but are very, very common. Motor skills, so that's writing, using the small skills in your hand, making shapes, coordination, things like that. Sequencing is, if you're making a cup of tea, you will boil a kettle, put the tea bag in the teacup, pour it over, add milk, sugar. Someone with dementia may know all of those steps, but they may do it in a different order. They may put the tea bag in the kettle first, or put the sugar in the kettle, or not use a mug, or pour the water into the mug and then add the tea bag. So they know all the steps, but they can't put them in the right order. And then visual perception and communication we've kind of gone over. The next slide. So it is possible to live well with dementia. There are many things to do to support someone living with dementia. If we think of my example earlier of making the cup of tea, if someone is unable to put those steps together to make a cup of tea, how might you support them to do it. Yeah, if someone is able to read, if someone still has those faculties, then writing them instructions can be really helpful. And that's great because it also encourages someone to still be independent and still be able to make tea for themselves. And that's an important point that we try to highlight, that encouraging someone as much as possible to still live independently and do things for themselves is really important for people's sense of self-worth. It's not always nice to have people doing things for you, and as much as it makes us feel good to help other people, supporting people to do things themselves is very important. Can we go to the next slide? So, listening to people with dementia, very important. Reducing distractions. Often, you mentioned earlier, your senses can be affected by dementia. If your hearing isn't so good, it can be a very useful strategy to take someone with dementia somewhere more quiet, where there's less noise around, so they can focus easily. It can be very difficult for people with dementia to focus on one person's voice when there are 10, 15 other people speaking. So having quiet, paying close attention. How else do you think you might be able to communicate with someone with dementia if they can't hear so well? Yeah, sign language, absolutely. They may not know sign language, you may not know sign language, but body language, communicating with your facial expressions. If you're greeting them, smile a lot, you know? Let them know that you are greeting them. Even if they can't hear you, that's a way to communicate to them in a way that they might understand that you're saying hello and introducing yourself. Using aids. So if you want them to go and collect something, you can show them a picture of that thing. You can point to it. If you say, can you go and get me that chair over there? They may not know what a chair means. They may have lost the word for chair, but if you point, or if you describe the chair, they may know more what you mean. And most importantly, although I'm sure you would all do this anyway, treat them with respect. Because it can be very easy when someone has dementia to think, oh, they won't remember, they don't know what they're talking about. I'll move on. They are still sensitive. They're still people. They still love the people around them, and it's very important to show that back to them. Can we go to the next slide? And there is more to the person than the dementia. So just like someone with cancer, someone with dementia has their own wishes, their own likes, their own dislikes, and a set of things that are important to them. And it is important to honor that, even if they have the condition, even if they have dementia. It's important to put what they want first, insofar as that's possible. Can we go to the next slide? So, dementia friends. The reason we call it dementia friends is because we want you to be friends to people with dementia. So, if there is someone you know with dementia, can I just ask, can I have a show of hands? Who does know someone with dementia? Pardon? Yeah, who does know someone with dementia? Okay, that's a few, that's good. But a lot of people who have dementia don't have a diagnosis. So they haven't been to a doctor. And maybe they don't have a diagnosis, but you may think they have memory problems. You may think they aren't quite the same way they used to be. They're struggling in a certain way. Even if someone doesn't have a diagnosis, but also if they do, keep in touch with those people. If they aren't leaving the house, even if when you meet them, they forget you, they don't know your name, they can't quite remember you, keep in touch, check in on them, see how they're doing, and if you're worried, let the community know, let someone know, and support them that way. And we also make sure to not use terms like victim of dementia or dementia sufferer. We like to talk about people who have dementia, because just like we said earlier, they're people first, and then they have dementia on top of that. All right, can we go to the next slide? So this is just a recap of our 5 key messages. Dementia is not a natural part of aging. It's caused by diseases in the brain. It's not just about losing your memory. It's possible to live well, and there is more to the person than the dementia. The next slide, please. So, the bookcase analogy. So this is how I was taught about how dementia affects memory, and it's a very useful thing if you ever want to explain it to someone else or to understand it better yourself. If imagine I'm 70 years old. I might not look it, but I've got good skin. I have a bookcase next to me of all of my memories of my life. Near the bottom are the memories of when I was a child. So maybe I remember the house I grew up in, or my friends when I was growing up, my parents when they were young. As that fills up, around here, I might have memories of my 30s, my first job. Maybe I've had children at this point. Maybe I've met my partner. And then as it fills up near my head are my most recent memories. So this is maybe my retirement. Maybe I got a promotion at work. Maybe I have grandchildren. When dementia comes along, it starts rocking this bookcase back and forth. Which books are going to fall out of this bookcase first? The ones at the top. My most recent memories are going to fall out. And the ones near the bottom are going to stay the same. If we go to the next slide, please. So there, my recent memories start falling out. And the next one? And the next one after that? So you see here that even the bookshelves have started falling down. When dementia gets really bad, it becomes impossible for someone to form new memories. The part of their brain that's responsible for that is so damaged that I can go and see them one day and they won't remember me the next. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, now, this is my factual bookcase. So this is things that have happened to me. People I know, facts, things I remember. This one next to me, on this side, if you imagine another one, is my emotional bookcase. So every fact here has a book in this emotional bookcase. So the first friends I made at school when I was young, I have all of my feelings here. So I have happiness, connectedness, things like that. As I go up, I have my wedding, I have joy, excitement, nervousness, anxiety. Then I go up here to my retirement. I have, again, good feelings, maybe some bad feelings too. This emotional bookcase is much, much stronger than my factual one. So dementia will come along and it will try to rock this emotional bookcase. Maybe a couple will fall out, but generally that's going to stay sturdy. It's going to stay very strong. My emotions stay. The facts and events have gone, but every corresponding emotion, every emotion attached to those events has stayed. If we go to the next slide, please. So, If I remember, I'm 70. If I'm in maybe I've had to go to a care home. Maybe I live there now. If you came and visited me in the care home, and we've been friends for a long time, maybe I don't remember you. Maybe I get confused, and I don't know why you're there, and we have an argument, and you go home. The next day, or that evening even, am I going to remember that argument? No. It's something that happened. My shelves have all fallen down, so I don't remember. I don't remember you, I don't remember what we talked about. But my feeling about that argument, that is going to stay. So someone else might come in, my son, my daughter might come in to speak to me, and they might say, Sam, you look really sad. You look like you've had a really hard day. Am I going to be able to communicate why I'm distressed? No, because I don't know. I've forgotten. But if we reverse that situation, if you come in and visit me, and I don't know who you are, but we have a nice conversation, you introduce yourself, we go out and get ice cream and go in the sun, we go for a walk. That evening, am I going to remember that ice cream or that walk or that conversation? No, I'm not going to remember. Am I going to feel happy afterwards? Yeah, exactly. The memory is gone, but the emotion stays. And this is what can make it difficult sometimes to support someone with dementia, to look after someone with dementia. Even if they don't remember the reality of what's happened, they are still just as sensitive and just as emotional as the rest of us are. They have the same responses to arguments, they feel the same frustration and the same anger and the same upset that we all do. So it's very important to, even though people might not remember you, even though people might act in inappropriate or difficult ways, to always make sure we treat them with compassion and respect. Can we go to the next slide? And the next one. And another one. I think it's a couple more now. There we go. So, just to recap, through all of the 5 key messages, dementia is not a natural part of aging. Dementia is caused by what in the brain? Diseases. Brilliant. Can we go to the next one? And the next slide. Dementia is not just about losing your memory. It's possible to live well with dementia, and there is more to the person than the dementia. I think now we've gone through the 5 key messages in the bookcase analogy. The rest of this presentation is more about Hillingdon, where I work. So I think it might be a good time to have some questions and answers. Yeah?
So we just have to make a small announcement.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Apologies, sorry.
Assalamu alaikum. There is a car, Toyota Corolla EX70 EHF. It's blocking the car park. Nobody can go into the car park anymore. No, I don't know who it is, whether it's lady or gentleman.
Kindly remove the car of that registration. Thank you. We're going to get on with our program. Thank you.
All right. So if we have some questions and answers now, I think that might be a good idea. So does anybody have a question? No. Well, go ahead. Fire away.
Can we please do this in a constructive way, each question at a time, and if we can keep it as short as possible so that we get more time for Sam to answer them. Thank you. To give you a bookcase analogy, which you said, imagine the bookshelf where each book represents a memory, which you say that. Yes. So dementia doesn't just remove the books from the shelf, it slowly makes the shelf itself less stable. Exactly what you said. Yeah. So that was excellent. Thank you so much.
No problem at all.
Please, go ahead.
Sam, thanks a lot for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you for all coming.
Yeah, but some of us, as we raised our hands, and people that we know who have dementia, and we are directly or indirectly involved in handling them or dealing with them. The aspect of a person having a dementia and then he or she needs care, and there are family members or there are homes and all that. I mean, that's the other issue, that the responsibility that falls on these people.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking after someone with dementia and caring for someone with dementia can be a very, very challenging thing. And that's why, just as it's important to look out for and look after and keep in touch with people with dementia, it's also really important that as communities and as groups, we support people looking after those with dementia. It can be very, very difficult to watch someone you love change in unexpected ways in front of you. That person is still there, but they change in very difficult ways. And yes, but there is also support out there. I am not an expert in what support is available in this borough, but I will be able to find some, and I can pass it on to you or pass it on to Ruby. Yeah, absolutely.
Just a question. You mentioned about the loss of hearing, and you briefly explained that it is linked somehow with the dementia. So is it possible to explain, I mean, where is the link, and how do we overcome, or how do we deal with that sort of situation, please?
Absolutely. So just like some memory loss is normal as you get older, some hearing loss is normal as you get older. Losing your hearing is not necessarily a sign of dementia, but it can be. So if you have some hearing loss and maybe a hearing aid isn't working, it's not fixing it, there's nothing physically wrong with the ear, that's when it may be a sign of dementia. And it's because the part of the brain that is responsible for processing the information, for processing the sound that comes through your ear, is damaged by one of the diseases in the brain. So might be damaged by Alzheimer's disease, or by vascular dementia, or by frontotemporal. So it's similar to sight in that way, that you can have loss of sight, and it can have nothing to do with dementia, and it can be completely normal. It can be another problem with the eye, but it can be a problem with the brain. And when it's a problem with the brain, it's normally the dementia.
Hi, thank you for a wonderful presentation. The question I have is, if you recognize somebody who is perhaps beginning to get dementia, what would you suggest as exercises to reduce the onset of dementia?
So that's a very good question. So dementia is a progressive disease. It will get worse, but you're right that there are things you can do to slow that progression down, so it gets less bad, slower. any and all functions of the brain can be damaged by dementia, so it's important to use your brain in as many ways as possible to keep your... You may have heard when you go into hospital, they tell you, you need to get up, you need to walk around, because if you don't use it, you'll lose it. You need to use your legs, use your arms. When you have dementia, it's similar with the brain. So a lot of exercises we recommend are having conversations with new people. You often find that people with dementia will withdraw. They won't come to groups anymore because they probably find it difficult to communicate and difficult to meet people and engage. So encouraging them to come to group activities, that's very important. Communicating in, I would imagine that a lot of you are bilingual. You speak more than one language, is that right? Yep. Speaking in a variety of languages can be very useful. Make sure you're keeping up with all of the languages you speak, because that's very, very healthy for the brain. And anything that someone likes to do, so reading, maybe they like puzzles, jigsaws, crosswords, anything like that, that's all really good stimulation for the brain. And sometimes there is also a therapy called cognitive stimulation therapy that's offered by, that would be offered by a GP or by a memory clinic. And that is specially designed for people with dementia to also stimulate their memory and stimulate their minds.
Can you complement that with some foods, maybe like nuts and things like that? Can you complement that answer with some foods that you can eat?
So,
something like that?
Yes. Anything that's... You remember I said earlier about heart disease and how that's linked to vascular dementia in the brain? So when the blood vessels in your brain get unhealthy and get clogged. Anything that's good for your body is going to be good for your brain. So making sure you're eating a healthy, balanced diet in the same way that any doctor would recommend to you. Making sure you're eating a lot of healthy fat. You know, doctors talk about that sometimes. Make sure you're getting enough vegetables, enough protein, making sure you're exercising. That's all really important for your brain health as well.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, of course you can.
So you say that it's safe and they can live normally, and it's safe, not safe, what I'm saying is that they will have a good life, they can lead a good life.
Yes.
But would they lead a good life with assistance all the time? Because, you know, for example, can they drive? One. Should they drive? Two. Three. Should they be accompanied everywhere, or you just give them instruction, go and get me a bottle of Coke or something from around the corner, and they end up going somewhere else, for example, which is a possibility. So do they need to be accompanied, or is it on the severity of the dementia?
It's exactly that. It's to do with the severity. If you get a diagnosis of dementia, the DVLA, the driving bureau, will contact you and will do an assessment about whether they think you are still able to drive. Most of the time, when people with dementia are first diagnosed, they are still able to drive. They might give you advice, like only drive locally, don't go anywhere new, don't make big journeys. But most of the time, people are still able, in the beginning stages of dementia, to do almost everything they've done in the past. But when the condition progresses, it can become more difficult to live independently. And when we say living well, it's about living the best you can. There are things we can do to change someone's environment or someone's day-to-day activity that can support them in living the best they can with the condition. So you might not be able to do everything you used to do. You want to go down to the shop but lose your way. That may happen. And then maybe you'll have to go with someone. Or there are other things people can do, like if you're looking after someone with dementia and you're worried they might get lost, you can you can order trackers and maybe put them in their shoe. So you say, yes, you can go down to the shops by yourself, but then you look at your phone and you know exactly where they are so you can make sure they don't get lost. It's things like that. It's getting creative about ways you can let someone live independently, but also make sure they're safe while they're doing it.
From your experience, do you find that those people who are trying to do things themselves, are they okay to cross the roads, busy roads and things like that with dementia, or is that another consideration? I mean, I'm just trying to highlight certain things that might happen with some of our elders who might be going somewhere, they can't cross the road, they forget where they are, and that's it.
Yeah. So most of the time, people are able to cross roads, navigate the world by themselves in the early stages, but dementia will progress to the point where someone isn't safe. But you will normally know. If you know someone with dementia or know someone you think has dementia, you will probably have quite a good idea about whether they are able to look left and right at traffic, to go to a zebra crossing where they know it's safe to cross. You'll have a good idea. But it's always good to use your best judgment.
Thank you for that.
That's all right.
Yeah, thank you very much for your speech and all the information. I just wonder whether it is better to keep an old man, your parents or somebody, at home or to send it to the care home. Now, at home, I find it there is a lot of advantage for the old people that they are with the children and they are, we know if they are in problem, they in problem so that we are there. But sometimes we all, also sometimes we keep them alone because there's nobody, no children and everybody, just to go shopping on and we come back. But in the care home, they are independent. They do have to do many things themselves. But which is, you think, it is better?
So you're absolutely right that it's great for someone with dementia to be around people they know and to have support from their family. So there are advantages to someone with dementia staying at home with people they love and people they know. But often there comes a time in dementia where that's no longer manageable. So perhaps someone has a dementia that makes them act aggressively sometimes. If there are young children in the house, that might not be, that might no longer be safe for them. Or if someone with dementia is living at home, but but their children work, so they're out of the house a lot of the day, then you might have to think about a care home. But normally, someone going into a care home is very few people with dementia go and live in care homes. Most people manage to stay at home and live independently by themselves, especially when they get the right support. But sometimes, yes, a care home is necessary.
Sam, I don't know whether I'm sidestepping on this issue or not. Do you know, there's something which is called ADHD?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and there must be quite a few of us who do not know a lot about it. But as far as I'm concerned, I know that there are what we call short-term losses of memory. I mean, I have to do things. You know, there's a list of things that I have to do. And in a little while, just from entering from one room into the other, I tend to forget, what did I come here for? At my age, at our age, this is possible.
Yeah.
So what I do is sort of, make a list of things that I have to do. Jot down a list of things, whether they have to be done the following day or the day after or in the long term. But can you talk more about these situations, ADHD? Thank you.
So there are lots of reasons that someone may lose their memory. There are lots of reasons that someone may have problem with their short-term memories. You have probably all realized when you're very stressed, when you have a lot going on, it's very difficult to remember things, especially short-term memories. With things like ADHD as well, it's your short-term memory, you struggle with that. When you're experiencing grief, when you're very emotional for some reason, your memory will not be great. When it might be dementia is if that is persistent, so it goes on for a long time. Maybe you're stressed and your memory is bad, but then the stress goes away, but your memory is still bad. When it's severe, so people around you are noticing that your memory is quite poor, that's when it might be dementia as well. And when it's starting to impact your life. So if you write a to-do list and that's fine, then it's probably not dementia. But if you write a to-do list and then you keep losing your to-do list, or you lose very important things that you used to know exactly where they are, and you've lost them, or you're struggling to do daily tasks by yourself, or you're finding yourself getting lost, those are the things that might signify that there's a problem. But usually, people around you will notice as well if there's a memory loss severe enough to be dementia. But there are lots of reasons you can lose your memory. But if you're worried at all, you should go to your GP, and they will do a test. And if that test comes out clear, they will send you to the memory clinic to maybe get a diagnosis. So if you're worried, GP.
Okay. If a person has been diagnosed with dementia, is there any medication or supplements which will reduce the progression?
That's a very good question. And unfortunately, what I tell you may go out of date very quickly, because there's a lot of new science going on about medication and treatment for dementia. Currently, at the moment, if you have Alzheimer's disease, there are 3 medications you can take. You can only take one of the 3. And they don't slow the progression down, but they do make the symptoms less severe. So they might make your memory loss a little better. They might improve your ability to see, hear, taste, things like that. And they're called memantine and donezepil. And there's a third one whose name is escaping me right now. Yes. So those are the 3 medications that you can take. For other kinds of dementia, there aren't medications. For vascular dementia, so that's with your blood vessels, a doctor may prescribe you a blood pressure drug to make your blood vessels more healthy, but it won't stop the progression. It will just slow it down. Anticoagulants, things like that, absolutely. But generally, unfortunately, at the moment, there's no cure for dementia, and there aren't many medications that can be offered for slowing it down. The best way to slow it down is, like you were saying earlier, eat healthily, exercise, and also stimulate your brain, and make sure you're doing those exercises to keep your brain engaged.
Can you forget your wife? That's wishful thinking, huh? So, in our culture, we say, okay, when you are forgetful, I call it senior moments.
Mhm.
They say eat 7 almonds, 7 badam, yeah? So 7 almonds we eat, and this has been going on when I was a little boy, a few years ago, that is. And I was said, if I forget something, my dad would say, or my mom say, 7 badam khaile, eat 7 almonds. So I think almonds and things like that, they care, something which is amazing. Those sort of fruit, nuts and things like that.
Almonds are certainly very healthy and are good for your brain. Whether they link exactly to dementia, I'm not sure, but if it makes your brain healthier, it will be good for the dementia.
Any more questions? Do you have any more?
I don't think so. Would you like to talk?
I thought that, if you could kindly mention, which you did, but what about treatments was done, but how can a person with dementia get support? That's one.
Support.
And the thing is, how can a person who's got dementia cope with the loss of memory, as it were, which you kindly went through the whole thing, but if you could kindly, and then one more thing, if it's okay with you, which could be your conclusion actually, is from your talk, what is the most important takeaway point for us today?
Absolutely.
Please. So if you could, then we can summarize and thank you.
Of course. So how can you get support? Voluntary organizations, Alzheimer's Society, who I work for, but also Age UK, Dementia UK. There are lots of charities. Not all of them will be working in this borough, but many will, and they can support you, and they can give you specialist advice based on your situation. And if you're caring for someone with dementia, if you do have dementia yourself, they can support you with that. So in Hillingdon, every time someone is diagnosed with dementia, they are referred to our team, and then someone from our team will give them a call, will normally visit their home, speak to them, talk to them in detail about what type of dementia they have, what the condition does, how it might progress, and what sort of things a carer or a person with dementia themselves can do to make their lives easier. Also, reaching out to your community can be a really useful way to get support. I'm sure, from what I've seen, you've got a very supportive staff here. Reach out to people, reach out to your friends, your community, your family. Because it's when you share the problem, and attend the Dementia Cafe every month. Absolutely. And there are often there are other cafes in the borough. So dementia cafes are normally where people come along, people with dementia or people looking after people with dementia, and just talk with others who are going through the same thing. Have a tea, have a coffee, have some food maybe. Yeah, and share their experiences and what they're going through. And that's a really useful thing. For someone with dementia, coping with the loss of independence and the loss of memory can be a really difficult thing. And this is why making adaptations to your life and to your home sometimes, or to a routine, to allow yourself to continue living independently is really important. So, just like you were saying earlier with making a cup of tea, having instructions written on a bit of paper to help you do that can be really important for preserving someone's sense of independence and dignity, really. If I can't find the tea in my kitchen, maybe putting a picture of tea next to where it is going to help me. a label on the cupboard where it's kept. Things like that can support someone to live independently and can allow them to continue so they don't experience that same loss of independence. Helping if someone loves to cook, for example, maybe they don't know how to do things in the right order. Maybe they struggle to use the oven. Instead of cooking for them, maybe cooking with them, helping them with the bits they can't do, helping them with the oven, to tell them which order they need to do things in. That way, you help someone do something that's really important for them. Maybe they've been cooking their whole life. They've cooked for their family since they can remember. Helping them to continue to do that will make the loss that's associated with dementia much less severe. And the most important takeaway, I think the most important takeaway is that dementia is not a natural part of aging. It's the first key message. Dementia is not normal. If someone is losing their memory to the point where they aren't able to live their life as they did before, take them to a GP. Take them to the GP. The GP will do a test. And even if it isn't dementia, it may be another health condition that's affecting their brain. So it's really important to get medical help. And then once you go to the GP, if they make a diagnosis for you, they will tell you about all of these organizations that are nearby that can help you. The first step to getting help is to get a diagnosis. So make sure if you're worried about someone, ask them to go to the GP, maybe go with them to support them. And that way you can get the ball rolling. And there's also, you can also get benefit support. You can get financial support if you have dementia, because sometimes you'll need changes in the house, sometimes you'll need additional help, and the financial support can really help you do that. But for all of that, you need a diagnosis. So if you know someone, if you're worried about someone, if you've noticed that maybe your memory's not quite right, and it's been like this for a while, go to your GP, seek support, talk to each other, talk to people you trust, ask them. Go to the cafe. Ruby will be able to talk to you. It's not something to be quiet about. Worrying about your memory is normal. Speak to people about it. Speak to your friends, speak to people you trust. And then if you're really worried, go to your GP and get a diagnosis.
And how do you join the Alzheimer's Society?
So, Alzheimer's Society, we work across England and Wales to give support to people with dementia. So, as I said, in my borough, we visit people, we talk to people, we also run cafes, much like Ruby's doing here. We also, as a charity, we fund research scientific research into developing treatments and cures. And while we haven't found one yet, there is some very promising research going on to cure specifically Alzheimer's disease, the most common type. And we also do research into what the best way to support people with dementia is. So what sort of social support works? What could the NHS do better to support people with dementia? What could social services do better? So we do both. We fund research, but we also provide support to people living with dementia and people looking after them. And we also have a national helpline. So if you are worried, you can call that from anywhere and ask a question or ask for support, ask what local support is available. It's open, I believe it's open 24/7. I'll have to double check that, but I'll make sure I get that number to you as well.
Thank you for that. Just to let you know that after I delivered the lecture a few months ago, I joined the Alzheimer's Society, and I'm getting regular emails, and they do walks and all sorts of things for charity, etc. It's really worth joining in. So much information you can lay just by clicking on one of the things, and opens up a wide dimension of what's going on actually. Okay, is there any more questions for young Sam here, 70-year-old Sam? Any question? Any more? Well, actually, it's been absolute delight. It's an amazing talk.
Well, thank you.
Such patience and such perseverance. We just pray for your long life, healthy life, and may you be blessed with more knowledge and more patience to persevere with what you're doing. You know, and this is our all from all the seniors here. And you are most welcome anytime to come here on a Wednesday. We have senior gatherings every Wednesday. You're most welcome. And after our prayers, we have a sumptuous lunch which you can enjoy as well. But Sam, God bless you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, all of you. It's been a lovely time.
Yeah. A loud salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Thank you so much. Bless you. Thank you. The next part of it now is I'm going to invite Nazir Bhai, who will tell you about the trip to the south. We have got 11 names, I think 10 to 11 names. We are trying to work out a logistics way of taking you down south, whether we go in our bus. I haven't got it over. You give them the 3 options. The bus.
Assalamu alaikum, bhayo. Okay, we have about 11 names which are ready to go to Arabian Walk in Hyderabad. We have 3 options. We are waiting for the ladies to come back to tell us how many of them are going, and if there is any space in their bus, then obviously we can go that way. Otherwise, we will have to take our own bus from here. So the cost of the bus will then be shared among those 11 people. Otherwise, the other choice is that you go by private cars. So if you can take 2 or 3 cars, then it will be much cheaper that way. So it is up to you how you want to decide how you want to go. The names, actually, I forgot my phone, so I don't have the names here with me. But I'm sure by the end of today, we'll give you the names of people who are actually going, so they can be prepared to go. I think the program is actually in the afternoon. So in the morning, they can go from here around about 10 o'clock or maybe 11 o'clock to be there at namaz time. Yeah? Any questions you want to ask? Yeah, it's your name. There is a list actually. You have to put your name on the list. Yeah, because there's a poll, and you need to put that name on the poll. That's so that we know who are going. You have a poll actually been sent to you.
So we'll finalize everything by the evening, so those who are interested.
Yeah, we will finalize everything by this evening. And the people who are going, actually, their names are on the poll. If anybody else who wants to go, they really need to put their names on the poll. It's no point giving it to me, because I can't actually go into the poll and put your name in. You will have to put your own name.
Okay, so as far as we are concerned, we are finished. Anybody who wants to talk on any subject, 3 minutes, and then we do ziyarat, and then prepare for wudu. Can we please be abstaining for ziyarat, please?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا مولاي يا ابن مولاي السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء السلام عليك يا سلطان يا أبا الحسن علي بن موسى رزاق شفينا وشفي والدينا في يوم الجزاء ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان يا ابن زهرة عليه السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك توأم وتمته فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين صلوا على النبي
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna Allahu malaikatahu salluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alaihi wa